Liverpool under Roy Hodgson. January 5th, 2011. Ewood Park. Liverpool are losing 2-1 to Blackburn Rovers with minutes remaining. Then, the referee points to the spot. For a club in freefall, this is the lifeline, a penalty. A chance to rescue a point, shift momentum, maybe even spark a turnaround in a season that has produced nothing but misery. Steven Gerrard, Liverpool's captain, their talisman, the man who had dragged them to Champions League glory from 3-0 down in Istanbul, steps up to take it. He misses. The ball flies over the crossbar. Blackburn hold on. 3 days later, Roy Hodgson is sacked. And in the aftermath, a theory emerges that has never fully disappeared. Did Gerrard miss on purpose? Nobody has ever proven it. Gerrard has never confirmed it. But the speculation alone tells you everything about how broken Liverpool had become under Hodgson. So broken that fans genuinely believed their captain would sabotage a penalty to force the manager out. 6 months earlier, Hodgson had arrived with credibility. A Europa League final with Fulham. LMA Manager of the Year by a record margin. A 3-year contract signalling long-term commitment. On paper, a sensible appointment. In practice, a disaster. Hodgson implemented defensive, conservative football at a club whose identity demanded tempo and aggression. Liverpool's squad still featured Gerrard, Fernando Torres, Javier Mascherano, players built for front-foot intensity. Instead, they found themselves sitting deep, absorbing pressure, playing not to lose. Results collapsed immediately. A League Cup exit to League Two Northampton Town on penalties. A home defeat to newly promoted Blackpool. A loss to bottom-of-the-table Wolves at Anfield that left supporters chanting for Kenny Dalglish. Glenn Johnson later admitted the squad were worried playing smaller teams at home. A damning confession of how deeply the tactical mismatch had corroded confidence. Hodgson lasted 31 matches. Liverpool learned that even proven managers, placed in the wrong environment, accelerate collapse rather than prevent it. England's golden generation. Steven Gerrard's Liverpool struggles were painful. His England career was arguably worse, because he wasn't alone in failing. England possessed 3 of the most complete midfielders in world football. Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Paul Scholes. Each dominated the Premier League. Each carried their clubs through moments demanding technique, composure, and mental resilience under pressure. Together for England, they produced a decade of underachievement. The problem was systemic. England's coaching staff remained rigidly committed to a 4-4-2 formation that forced all 3 into roles diminishing their strengths. Gerrard and Lampard, both attack-minded central midfielders who thrived with freedom to drive forward, were paired together without a dedicated defensive anchor. The result was a midfield structurally imbalanced. Too much attacking intent, too little protection behind them. Scholes suffered worst. Arguably the most technically gifted of the 3, he was repeatedly deployed on the left wing to accommodate the Gerrard-Lampard partnership. A player whose vision and passing range made him ideal as a deep-lying playmaker was instead asked to hug the touchline. He retired from international football at 29, still in his prime, citing family reasons. But the positional misuse had clearly taken its toll. The FA refused to adapt. Spain restructured around midfield control. Germany invested in positional flexibility. England clung to a template built on directness, while international football evolved around them. World Cup 2002, quarter-final exit. Euro 2004, quarter-final elimination on penalties. Beckham and Vassell missing from the spot. World Cup 2006, quarter-final exit on penalties again. The psychological pattern was consistent. Elite individual talent unable to produce collective success. 3 players who could each control matches alone, yet never given a system allowing them to coexist. Tactical stubbornness met mental fragility. Both failures fed each other across 6 wasted years.
Germany's post-2014 collapse. Germany's 2014 World Cup squad had everything. Technical excellence, physical dominance, defensive discipline, tactical flexibility. They demolished Brazil 7-1 in the semi-final and lifted the trophy in Rio. Then they decided to dismantle half of what made them great. Inspired by Spain's possession-based dominance, the DFB launched a comprehensive restructuring of youth development. The directive: produce ultra-technical, possession-oriented players capable of controlling matches through positional superiority. Academies were redesigned. Coaching certifications updated. The entire philosophy pivoted toward ball retention and technical refinement. The theory appeared sound. The consequences were severe. By elevating technique above all competing priorities, Germany gradually eroded the physical resilience and defensive instincts that had defined the national team for generations. Young centre-backs were coached to initiate attacks rather than read danger. Midfielders were developed as circulation specialists rather than players capable of winning duels and covering ground. The mental toughness cultivated through defensive discipline, the capacity to absorb pressure and respond with composure, was deprioritized. The 2018 World Cup delivered a brutal correction. Against South Korea, Germany dominated possession but created almost nothing. The Koreans defended deep, stayed compact, and waited for mistakes. In stoppage time, with Germany desperately pushing forward, Kim Young-gwon scored. Minutes later, with Manuel Neuer stranded near the halfway line after joining the attack, Son Heung-min intercepted a loose ball and rolled it into an empty net. The images were symbolic. The most organized footballing nation in history, caught completely out of position. Euro 2020 confirmed the failure wasn't temporary. Inconsistent performances. Another knockout round exit. A generation of players technically proficient but physically and psychologically unprepared for tournament demands. Innovation without foundational balance doesn't improve systems, it destabilizes them. Italy's institutional paralysis. Italy's 2006 World Cup triumph masked a fundamental problem. That squad featured Cannavaro, Buffon, Gattuso, Pirlo, players whose collective defensive mentality had been cultivated across generations. But many were entering their 30s. The transition was never planned. South Africa 2010 delivered immediate consequences. Italy finished last in their group. No wins, a 3-2 defeat to Slovakia. The first time in tournament history, Italy failed to win a single World Cup match. Defending champions eliminated before the knockout rounds began. The FIGC's response appeared promising. Roberto Baggio was appointed president of the technical sector. His mandate? Analyze the structural failures and rebuild the development pathway. Baggio produced a 900-page report identifying systemic problems and providing detailed solutions. The document was presented in December 2011. The FIGC ignored it entirely. My 900-page report remained a dead letter, Baggio stated when resigning in January 2013. The €10 million budget we were allocated, I've yet to see a penny. While Spain, France, and Germany invested billions in academy infrastructure and coaching methodology, Italian football's governing body buried the most comprehensive reform proposal in its history. World Cup 2014. Another group stage exit. 2 goals across 3 matches. November 2017. Sweden. A 2-legged playoff. Italy lost 1-0 on aggregate. For the first time since 1958, they would not appear at a World Cup. March 2022. North Macedonia, ranked 67th in the world, visited Palermo. Italy created 32 shots to 4. In the 92nd minute, Alexander Trajkovski scored from distance. The European champions had failed to qualify for a second consecutive World Cup. Arrigo Sacchi's assessment was brutal. Italian football suffers from cultural backwardness. Other nations evolve, and we are 60 years behind. The least guilty in this situation are the players and the coach. The problem is institutional. As of November 2025, Italy face yet another World Cup playoff, their third consecutive. 12 years without appearing on football's biggest stage becomes a realistic possibility. The lesson isn't about tactical philosophy. When institutions refuse to adapt, when reform proposals are buried, when development budgets never materialize, decline compounds. Historical prestige provides no protection against institutional failure. Manchester United under Ed Woodward. While national federations experimented with playing styles, Manchester United conducted an experiment of a different kind, handing complete sporting authority to a man whose expertise was corporate acquisitions, not football. Ed Woodward's background was investment banking. His speciality was commercial partnerships, sponsorship portfolios, and revenue optimization. Under his leadership, United became the most profitable club on the planet. A kit deal worth £750 million. Sponsorship agreements spanning tractors, noodles, and mattresses. Commercially, the operation was pristine. Competitively, it produced a decade of dysfunction. Woodward operated as director of football without understanding squad architecture, recruitment cycles, or dressing room dynamics. Players were signed for commercial visibility rather than tactical fit. Names that sold shirts rather than profiles that balanced squads. The managerial appointments exposed the absence of any coherent sporting vision. David Moyes, appointed to build long-term. Louis van Gaal, a rigid positional theorist. Jose Mourinho, a short-term pragmatist demanding immediate investment. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a sentimental appointment designed to restore emotional connection. Four managers with fundamentally incompatible philosophies, each inheriting squads assembled for different systems. The transfer failures became symbolic. Radamel Falcao arrived carrying chronic knee concerns, 4 league goals. Ángel Di Maria lasted 1 disjointed season. Alexis Sanchez earned a reported £500,000 weekly while contributing 3 league goals in 18 months. Donny van de Beek was signed for £35 million, reportedly without full managerial consultation and given no defined role. United spent over £1 billion on players during Woodward's tenure. 0 league titles, 0 Champions League finals. A club that had won 13 Premier League championships under Ferguson became incapable of mounting a serious title challenge. Commercial success and sporting success require fundamentally different expertise. United proved you cannot confuse one for the other.
Monaco's unsustainable model. Monaco's 2016-17 Ligue 1 title was built on chemistry. Kylian Mbappé, Bernardo Silva, Fabinho, Benjamin Mendy, Thomas Lemar. Young players who understood each other's movements, trusted each other's decisions, and believed they could beat anyone. The club's response was to sell all of them. The logic appeared sound from a balance sheet perspective. Develop young talent, capture a trophy, sell at peak valuation, reinvest in the next cycle. A self-sustaining engine, generating profit while maintaining competitiveness. Within 2 transfer windows, Monaco liquidated the entire championship core. Mbappé to PSG for €180 million. Fabinho to Liverpool for €45 million. Mendy to Manchester City for €57 million. Silva preceded him there for €50 million. Lemar followed to Atletico Madrid for €70 million. Over €400 million in sales. Complete destruction of squad continuity. The replacements were projects rather than players. 17 and 18-year-old prospects flooded the first team. Talents with theoretical ceilings, but no experience managing pressure or maintaining consistency across a season. The average age collapsed. Leadership evaporated.
Tactical identity dissolved. Leonardo Jardim, architect of the title, eventually departed amid mounting chaos. His successors inherited squads with no structural foundation, collections of potential rather than functioning teams. The club that had challenged for Champions League knockout rounds found itself battling League One relegation, surviving by narrow margins in 2018-19. Monaco's experiment exposed a fundamental miscalculation. Player valuation operates on market logic. Squad psychology operates on human logic. Selling assets at peak commercial value while simultaneously depleting competitive cohesion creates contradictions that unplanned reinvestment cannot solve. Qatar's Aspire Academy. Qatar attempted the most ambitious acceleration program in football history, manufacturing a competitive national team through centralized investment and compressed timelines. The Aspire Academy, established in 2004 with reported investment estimated in the billions across its lifespan, represented the strategic centerpiece. World-class facilities in Doha, international coaching expertise recruited from European federations, a global scouting network identifying promising youth players across Africa and South America who could be naturalized and fast-tracked into the Qatari system. The satellite network extended across continents. Eupen in Belgium and Cultural Leonesa in Spain were acquired as developmental outposts, designed to expose academy graduates to European competitive environments. The theoretical pathway was comprehensive. Identify talent early, develop technically in state-of-the-art conditions, harden competitively through European loan systems, deliver a tournament-ready squad by 2022. The 2022 World Cup exposed every flaw. Qatar became the worst-performing host nation in tournament history. 3 matches, 3 defeats, 1 goal scored, 7 conceded. They never led in any game. They trailed at halftime in every match. Against Ecuador, Senegal, and the Netherlands, the national team appeared physically overmatched and psychologically overwhelmed. The academy had produced players who could execute training ground patterns. It had failed to develop the competitive resilience, adaptive decision-making, and emotional regulation that only years of high-stakes professional football provide. Most Qatari internationals lacked consistent exposure to elite football. The developmental ceiling was both psychological and technical. When tournament intensity arrived, they had no reference point for managing it. Qatar's experiment confirmed an uncomfortable truth. Excellence cannot be manufactured through resource allocation alone. Football development demands organic, competitive struggle and generational patience. There are no shortcuts, regardless of investment.
Valencia's abandoned project. Valencia's early 2000s represented one of European football's most impressive runs. Under Hector Couper, they reached consecutive Champions League finals in 2000 and 2001. Under Rafael Benitez, they won back-to-back La Liga titles in 2002 and 2004, adding a UEFA Cup. The squad architecture was exceptional. Roberto Ayala anchored the defense. David Albelda and Ruben Baraja formed a midfield partnership built on positional intelligence and tactical discipline. The collective understanding, developed across years of shared competition, consistently matched Barcelona and Real Madrid. Then the structure fell apart. Benitez departed for Liverpool in 2004 after disputes with the board over recruitment strategy. The manager who had built the tactical framework walked away. Within subsequent windows, the core that had delivered consecutive titles was gradually dismantled. The club cycled through 5 managers in 4 years. In 2007, Valencia announced an ambitious new stadium project, the new Mestalla. Construction began just as Spain's property bubble was peaking. When the financial crisis hit, the club's debt spiraled beyond €500 million. By February 2009, construction halted indefinitely. The concrete skeleton became a monument to overextension, visible from across the city.
The 2007-8 season captured the dysfunction. 3 managers, a relegation battle, and a 10th place finish. Valencia's worst in over a decade. They won the Copa del Rey as consolation, then sacked the manager 5 days later. 2 decades on, Valencia have not won La Liga since 2004. The new Mestalla sat unfinished for 16 years before construction finally resumed in January 2025. The experiment wasn't a tactical innovation, it was simpler, the belief that sustained excellence could survive the extraction of its core. Squad chemistry, managerial continuity, and financial stability aren't renewable resources.